Hey, how are you? Kumusta po kayo? And thanks for tuning in to another edition of Paul Presents Art. So I'm Paul, I'm going to be your guide today. And we're just outside the Robert Kardosh Gallery here in Vancouver, which is of course built on the ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And we're going to go inside and have a look at a recent exhibition of works by Vicky Marshall. So Vicky Marshall is predominantly a painter, and the work that she's done inside the gallery are stitched paintings. So I'm gonna give you more information about the work that she's done, and I hope you enjoy the tour. And let's go inside. All right, so welcome to the gallery, and as is customary in my videos, we're gonna do a slight pan of the show, just to have a cursory glance at the exhibition space. Also, what we'll do, I'll share an artist biography with you. And then after that, we're going to go through each and every work in the show. And I'll offer some commentary as we go through the entire show. But first, let me share a biography about the artist. Vicky Marshall was born in Sheffield, England, and immigrated to Canada as a child in 1966. She studied at Emily Carr College of Art and Design, which is a college here in Vancouver, graduating in 1979 and rose to prominence in the early 1980s with her bold series of paintings depicting Vancouver's downtown east side. Her work was featured in the influential 1985 exhibition at the Vancouver Art Gallery titled The Young Romantics. Later, Marshall turned to the British Columbia interior landscape as a subject for her large painterly works on canvas. Now, I've been aware of her work for some time, but have experienced it sporadically over the past couple of decades. As with most artists who move from an urban area like Vancouver to a smaller town, experiences and priorities change over time. The pace of life slows, and immediate personal things take priority. But in all of that, Marshall has remained a painter and challenges herself to further her practice and subject matter by considering the circumstances that immediately concern her and through material investigation and experimentation. The series of small scale stitched works on discarded paintings allow us a glimpse of a different kind of existence, one that speaks to an inner dialogue and informed by the nature she is surrounded by, as well as the artistic material legacy all artists have to contend with. What I'm talking about here is kind of like the inventory of works that we have in a studio, and after months, years, or even decades, you kind of wonder what you're going to do with them, perhaps repurposing them. So that is kind of like the entire essence of this show. And I also wanted to mention that the works in the show span from about 2022 to the present. So let's go and have a look. Let me start by saying that this exhibition has two large oil paintings as reference to the smaller works with stitchery on discarded paintings. This piece is called It's Over 1 to 3, 2023-2024 mixed media. These works are available individually, and the hanging of these works were done thematically. As we move on to the next cluster, this is called Rain and River 1 to 5, also 2023-2024 mixed media. And just a note that these small-scaled works, with stitchery on discarded canvases, were all done in 2023-2024 and described as mixed media. I'll continue with the titles unless the title and the media differ. So as we just move along over here, we're going to go and I particularly like this piece. This is a little bit of an outlier in terms of this cluster of pieces over here. And then moving right along, we're going to go and have a look at a cluster called Strike 1 to 4, which tends to allude to lightning strikes. Now, the thing about the lightning strikes, and if you look at these depictions, they're very, very colorful in terms of like the balance of the atmosphere and the depiction of lightning, because lightning in a sense is more like a periphery type of a result of climate change, as it's one of those things very much like tectonic stresses. It's more like an after effect of climate change than a direct result of it. Moving over to these pieces. This is called Here is Some Relief 1 to 4. Now, I alluded earlier to two large paintings in the show, reminding me of the scale that she normally works in, while the smaller works, being more intimate, references what I would refer to as craft work, for lack of a better term. There's a dichotomy between art and craft, high art, low art through painting, and craft through stitchery, which the artist tends to, in my opinion, reconcile in this body of work. This next cluster is called Northern Dance 1 to 3. I want to talk about the intimate scale of most of these works, which measure slightly larger than the size of a postcard. This makes me think of the scale of sketches that plein air artists often bring with them when painting outdoors. Sketches are meant to be rough compositions done outdoors, but these works by Marshall, to me anyway, is a hybrid form. This next group is actually two groups. The first two pieces are called Meteor 1 and 2, followed by Meteor Shower 1 and 2. With regard to climatic events, the reference to meteors are likened to natural occurrences. Very much like how volcanic eruptions are classified, I would think. They kind of sort of like, it's more like resulting from other events that actually cascade into more serious atmospheric disturbances. This cluster of 6 is called Sea Trouble 1 to 6. And getting back to the scale of these works, and as Canadian artists, the group of 7 comes to mind. The group of 7 was a group of white male artists who painted outdoors in the wilderness of Ontario in the early 20th century. They would take their easels and paint in the wild, return to the city, and execute full-blown versions of their sketches. I mention this to create a connection with nature and painting, since, in my opinion, Marshall's work chronicles her natural surroundings. These days, climate change has entered our vocabulary, and the act of stitching is, in a way, a form of mending what is broken. Perhaps we can take a leap of faith and say that stitchery in her work symbolically tries to mend what is currently broken in nature. And this next cluster, the first two are called Funnel Cloud, which we're looking at right now. And then as we progress through, the next 3 are called Tornado 1, 2, and 3. And since we're on the theme of climate change and its effect on the environment, I want to expand on that topic a bit further. When we look at artistic depictions of atmospheric disturbances, especially when islands or archipelagic land masses are concerned, it can be a dramatic depiction. I'll continue that train of thought in a little bit. Meanwhile, we're going to go and have a look at a single piece called Resting Volcano. This work is larger than the ones we've seen so far, somewhat larger than the standard letter-sized paper, which is about 10 by 15 inches. We will encounter a few works of this scale later on in the exhibition. And for now, I'm going to refer to this larger piece, which is called Howl 2024 Oil on Canvas. Getting back to depictions of atmospheric disturbances, I'm referring to the works of English painter J.M.W. Turner, for example, of depicting rain, snowstorms, and the challenges living near an unforgivable sea through his seascapes. I reference Turner to perhaps create a lineage through the British tradition of seascape and atmospheric painting back when Turner was a practicing artist, and embracing that legacy through Marshall's depictions of climate change in her new series of work. This cluster of 3 is called Volcano 1, 2, and 3. Okay. I also want to touch upon a geographic comparison between the British Isles and the islands and coastal areas of the Sunshine Coast in British Columbia, where Marshall lives. Both are weathered by the ocean, and this creates a connection through lived experiences of place and climatic circumstances. These next pieces are single pieces. This one, what we're looking at, is called Ghost Lake Number 1. And the one after this is called Rising and River, followed by Ghost Lake Number 2. These pieces are a set of larger works, as per the previous one that was shown. I find that in these larger pieces, the significance of the stitches is somewhat diminished. Stitchery is intimate, time-consuming, and covers less ground than painting. So that effect is understandable, and it still works as a composition. Personally, I prefer the intimacy of the smaller works. I just like miniature paintings and smaller works. They seem to be, in my mind anyways, denser. And this one is called Night Fire 1 to 3. And this set reminds me of the resurgence of forest fires in recent years during the summertime, particularly in British Columbia and nearby parts of the Pacific Northwest when temperatures soar to unseasonably high. The risk of forest fires amount to an environmental catastrophe, destroying many homes and lives in its wake. Now, this last piece that we're going to look at is one of the two large pieces in the show called Flow 2022, which is oil on canvas. Lastly, I also want to comment on the effect of color in the works with regard to being a painter and how that experience with color reinforces the composition of the stitchwork. Being a good colorist intensifies the composition through the dramatic effects. So I think we will leave it at that for now. And I hope you enjoyed this tour of Vicky Marshall's work here at the Robert Kardosh Gallery. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. I'd really appreciate that. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. It's all free and it helps the channel gain momentum. Seriously, it actually does help. As my channel is not monetized, subscribing hopefully achieves momentum for the channel and also for the artists that are covered. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Thank you so much for joining me today. You have a great day and I hope art continues to inform your life. And I hope you tune in again very soon. Have a great day and I'll say my farewells. Goodbye.